Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. I hope you guys are having a great day whenever you get a chance to check this out. Hey, I wanted to do this video this morning answering a comment, or essentially rebutting a comment that was made on a video I did the other day on who rules Earth. Essentially, not verbatim because I don't have the comment here in front of me, but this person said essentially that all of my teachings on the Anunnaki are debunked because I'm just basically regurgitating what Zecharia Sitchin taught and said. So I just want you guys to understand, just like the word conspiracy theorist that is used against those that question mainstream narratives, that see patterns in what the powerful and the elite do and calling out those things. The media uses that as a gaslight term to get people just to dismiss it as, nonsense. Well, this is something you find often in the world of those that research into the Anunnaki and the Sumerian cuneiform tablets. Whenever it's brought up, people like this person will gaslight other people by saying, oh, it's just Zecharia Sitchin this person's talking about. He's been debunked as a liar, and his theories are lies, and he made it all up, and he's a Mason, and all these other things that they bring up. Folks, it's the same type of gaslighting. Now, I have mentioned a few times in interviews and videos I've done that, for one, I have never even read Zecharia Sitchin's books, okay? I just want you to understand that. However, I've watched videos, I've watched him do interviews, and I've seen him on shows like Ancient Aliens and such. And I understand what his viewpoints are. I have read the Book of Enki. The Lost Book of Enki, that is. That was basically a culmination of all of Zecharia Sitchin's work done, essentially connecting all of the dots into one storyline that he presented as the Lost Book of Enki. However, it was not a tablet found or anything. It was a culmination of all of his work. He tried to put it into like a storyline, tying up all of his research into one story. Very interesting read or listen to be honest. You might want to check it out. It's very interesting how he kind of tied it all together and the total picture he painted. However, I have mentioned many times that some of his theories I thought were right on, but a lot of his stuff I don't agree with. It was just his interpretation. Now, there was a big push by the mainstream to attack Zecharia Sitchin and to dismiss all of his work because he was hitting on a lot of things that were hitting close to home. And the mainstream academia did not like that, so they used media to attack him. And a lot of it was right at the end of his life when his health was failing and he was ready to pass, and he did not have the means to rebut their attacks on him. People said, well, he made up all of these stories. The Anunnaki were not real. It was all just, Zecharia Sitchin made it all up. Folks, Zecharia Sitchin did not make up these translations. These translations, many of them were done 100 years before his time. George Smith was one of the first people to unlock the codex, to unlock the translations of the Sumerian, of the cuneiform, of some of the Akkadian. And so you got to realize, folks, it's not all Sumerian. There was Akkadian, there was Babylonian, there was Assyrian cuneiform. It's not just like a straight line, okay? It's not all Sumerian. Sumerian was the oldest form of the cuneiform. Then you had the Akkadian, and you had the Babylonian and the Assyrian, and you also had Hittite and Canaanite. There were different versions of the cuneiform, folks. George Smith was one of the first to start breaking the code into how to read these cuneiform. And there were other people working on this as early as the mid-1800s and on. So what Zecharia Sitchin did was he took those translations. Now, he was a Hebrew linguist. He delved into the original, the Paleo Hebrew writings. He was an Israeli, a Jew, and he seen the connections between the cuneiform translations and the original Hebrew. And so what he did was he took the Hebrew and some Egyptian and the Sumerian, and he tried to tie them all together, because there are very many connections between them, folks, and he understood that. Anybody, folks, that has researched these ancient languages, they understand that there's many connections between all these cultures. There's many connections between their religions and quote-unquote mythologies. It's gaslighting, folks. It's gaslighting in the same way that Christians call anything not of the Bible pagan or mythology. It's the same way that academia calls all of these things mythology, because they know that there is truth to all this, but they don't want to admit it because it destroys their religion, their cult called Darwinism. It's the same thing, folks. We are getting gaslighted on every front. Instead of all of these people coming together and working together to unlock the codes, unlock the mysteries of our ancient past, they all are walled up within their own compounds, or their own what's the word? It's just eluding me here. Basically into their groups, into their group thinks, into their camps. There you go. They only see things from a small box, and anything that challenges that box, they will battle it, and they'll gaslight you. They'll try to get people not to delve into these things. Christians do the exact same thing, folks. Anything that challenges their Yahweh, anything that challenges their Bible, they will just call it as heretical or blasphemy or it's pagan. See, it's the same thing, folks. That's why you never get truth in this world, because there's gatekeepers to truth. And there are fanatics. There are groups of people that are so fanatical about their beliefs that anything outside the box that challenges their beliefs, they will gaslight you and attack you and try to demoralize you and try to get you to move away from that. And what I've learned in this world, folks, is whenever you're being gaslit about something, that's when you continue to delve deeper, because there's a reason why they're gaslighting you. So this guy, he thought he was a smartass. He's going to wipe away all of my talks and research by just saying, oh, you're just spitting out Zecharia Sitchin stuff. A total clown, Guaranteed this guy has never studied the cuneiform, because, surprise, folks, you can actually read them yourselves. In fact, I challenge you all the time. Go read the Enuma Elish. Go read the Atrahasis. Go read the Epic of Gilgamesh. Go read Inanna's descent into the underworld. Go read the Sumerian Kings list. Go read the Epic of Etana. I tell you to go read these, folks, because what I know you will find if you read them with an open mind, and it may not just be listening to or reading them once, you may need to do it a few times, because you got to understand there is a lot of allegories and symbology, just like in the Bible. That's how a lot of these ancient peoples passed on knowledge, was through allegories and symbolism. Sometimes you need to do it a few times, but what you'll start seeing is patterns, folks. And these patterns will point to the fact that the Bible, the Old, and even some of the New Testament were adapted from these much older, thousands of years older texts. That's just truth, folks. I want you to understand that I am not regurgitating Zachariah Sitchin. However, I'm reading the same tablets and I'm studying the same tablets that he did. Now, he had connections. He may have been delving into some tablets that I have not seen. However, I've been reading new tablets, folks, ones that nobody else has, like Enki in Enki in the World Order, where literally Enki is talking about how the gods incarnated into human avatars in that tablet. And he even called it the Matrix. Get that, folks, the Matrix, in a tablet that is over 4,000 years old. See, folks, you can read these. There are websites attached to major colleges and museums around the world that have their own corpus lists of these tablets that have been translated. Now, some of them can be tough because they're missing a lot of information. Because, folks, these tablets are thousands of years old. And some of them are damaged. However, there's enough of them that you can read that you can start to you can start to cross-connect these tablets and the information. And it starts to paint a picture, folks, of a highly technologically advanced species. Were they interdimensional? Were they the lost Atlanteans, or the Atlanteans that survived? The royal class, the engineering and scientific class that started rebuilding civilization? Were they extraterrestrial? I can't tell you for sure, folks, but it is quite obvious that these were advanced beings. They had advanced technologies. They were talking about genetic manipulations and such. You're talking about, we just started delving into these as a civilization here within the last 60 to 80 years, where they were already explaining quantum physics and genetics. Folks, this is the story of us. It is very important that we start to delve into this stuff. We've got to unlock this stuff. And so when you have an asshat just come through like a smug ass saying, oh, that's just Zachariah Sitchin you're saying. The guy is an imbecile, because he's obviously not researched any of these tablets, because if he had, he wouldn't say that. But see, people, these types like him, they get worried because they've been fed a religion their whole life. And religion is part of the control mechanisms of the ruling elite. See, religion is one of the 3 pillars of control that I talk about. It's manipulation, folks. And people like him, they don't want their version of the story to get questioned. They don't want their Bible to get questioned. They actually believe that Hebrew scribes were like basically writing down these things as they took place. Oh, they think that like Genesis was being written down as God was, creating the heavens and the earth. Oh, it's inspired, they say. What does inspired mean? Channeled? Oh, no, channeling's demonic, they say. Oh, but okay then. What? When it's in your book, it's inspired, but if it's in somebody else's book, or somebody else is on YouTube saying they're channeling Zetas or whatever, Pleiadians, they'll laugh and say that that's just demons and fallen angels that they're channeling. But when it's in your book, it's inspired channeling of God, right? Oh, no, not channeling, right? Inspired words of God being written down. See how this game works, folks? That's how these people expose themselves. And they know that these tablets are getting translated more and more every day. Watch what happens, folks, when AI, they're working on AI programs right now that can go and translate all of these tablets. They're working on that right now, folks. Now, I understand, and I'm sure you do too, that obviously, just like the Dead Sea Scrolls, there's going to be gatekeepers of knowledge, and certain books or certain tablets are going to be translated that they do not want us having access to. We've seen that happen with the Dead Sea Scrolls. A lot of them that have a lot of information that would put into question the Bible have been hidden from us. Oh, the ones that coincide with the Bible, they've released those. That's how this game works, folks. Now, I get it. They're going to do the same with the Sumerian cuneiform. But the good thing is, enough of these cuneiform tablets have been released, the translations, that you can start to cross-check them with the Vedic text, with the Bible, with the Egyptian. And it starts to paint a picture. That's what I do, folks. That's all I do. Look, I'm not a linguist. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm not an ancient language specialist. All I do is read, folks. I read the information that I can find. I read the Book of Enoch. I read the Nag Hammadi. I read the Vedic text. I read the Book of the Dead. I read the Bible, the Old and New. I read the various cuneiform tablets. I study Zoroastrianism. I study all these ancient religions and texts. And what I do, folks, is I take all of that information along with my research into quantum physics, into other things like, into spirituality and other things, and what's going on in the world now, and all of these mystery schools and the Hermetic teachings, and on and on and on. I could go on and on, folks. But I study and research every day. And so I connect all those things. That's how I come up with my theories. You can do this too. Now, you may come up with different theories than I do. That's what Zecharia Sitchin was doing, folks. He was doing his best job at trying to figure out these mysteries. He knew the Bible inside and out better than most of these Christians calling him a liar. Because he actually read the Paleo-Hebrew, the Aramaic, the Greek. See, Zecharia Sitchin knew how to read all those languages. But the tablets, he learned how to read some of the Sumerian, but most of what he was talking about were the tablets that were already translated. So I'm sorry, folks, that I had to basically do a whole video on this one guy's comment. But I wanted to clarify for any of you that listen to me on a regular basis, I want you to understand where I'm coming from, okay? And what I'm telling you to do is do your own research. You may come up with slightly different theories than I do. Maybe similar. Maybe in the long run you'll just say, oh, it's all nonsense, the Bible's the only truth. That may be. If that's what you feel in your discernment, in your heart, in your mind, that's right, then that's fine. I'm not going to hate you for that, man. We're all on this path, folks. However, don't let these people gaslight you, because they don't want you reading the Epic of Gilgamesh. They don't want you reading the Atrahasis, which literally explains to you how humans were created by a higher technologically advanced race. They go into detail. They don't want you reading Enki and Ninmah as they're working on the atom prototype. Because they know, folks, that as more and more people start to research this stuff, they're going to realize that the Bible is a Reader's Digest version of the cuneiform, of the Vedic text, of Zoroastrianism, of the Egyptian. See, that's what they fear. Because their religion, folks, is built on blind faith. They don't want you to research into Yeshua's traveling years. You know, the missing periods in the Bible. I mean, for the Son of God, folks, don't you think that would be very, very important to chronologically have all of his wanderings and teachings through his whole life in the Bible, in the New Testament? Wouldn't it, right? Now, I've said many times, folks, that Yeshua was real. He is documented throughout India and all through along the Silk Road. He traveled the Silk Road with his rich uncle Joseph of Arimathea. He was one of the richest merchants of the time. He had ships. He went all the way up to the British Isles. Yeshua was learning with the Druids. He was learning in Buddhist temples, in Hindu temples. He was in Egypt learning the mystery school teachings. He was learning with the Essenes, him and John the Baptist. Folks, these are all in his travels. His name was Isa. ISSA was how his name was called in the East, in the Asiatic areas, in Persia, throughout that area. He was documented in the Asrams. They have his name written down in Buddhist and Hindu temples, folks. Now, why do you think they don't teach you that stuff in church, huh? Why do you think Constantine's Bible didn't have that stuff included? Why do you think there's a gap in his traveling? Simple, folks. Because that Jesus Christ figure that you've been taught your whole life about is a character created by the power elite of Rome of the time, along with the power elite of the churches and the temples, the Jews and the early Christians. Just like nowadays, folks, they were the gatekeepers of information back then as they are now. That your Bible is a manipulated text, folks. A lot of the Old Testament was written after Yeshua left this plane of existence. They don't tell you that, though. When you read that Old Testament, oh yeah, you're thinking that, oh my God, this is since Adam and Eve, from Adam and Eve on, it's 6,000 years of documented history. No, folks. Wake up. Wake up. The oldest Hebrew text, oldest Hebrew book of the Bible was the book of Job. And it goes back maybe about 600 BC. A lot of your Old Testament was written AD. Just like the New Testament was written after the disciples and Yeshua were gone. Now, I'm not saying that none of his disciples had writings. They did, obviously. But most of it, like Paul wrote a lot of the New Testament, he never even walked with Yeshua. And he's like the main guy that churches all... I mean, whenever you go to a church, almost every time they're talking about scripture, it's usually always Paul's words. Now, I'm not saying Paul was a bad guy or anything, folks. He had a lot of great teaching. However, I think he tried to make the New Testament about him, his teachings. Yeshua was not for church, folks. Yeshua was for knowledge and teaching and love and healing. He was a master teacher, folks. Just like Buddha, just like other master teachers that have been before. Think of Hermes. Oh, I know, Christians. He's demonic, right? Even though Hermes Trismegistus Thoth literally was teaching all the secrets of quantum physics thousands of years ago. And that's been passed down. And in those mystery schools, Yeshua was learning those same mystery schools. Folks, it's time to wake up. Don't let these people gaslight you. When they gaslight you, you know right away what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to divert you. They're trying to get you to get onto an off-ramp. They don't want you continuing on down that road because they know that as more people wake up to all this, their charade's up. And they hate the fact that they've been propagandized and programmed into a religion since the day they were born because their parents were Catholics or Lutherans or Baptists or whatever. And they gone to church their whole life. And then all of a sudden, people start questioning their faith. Talking about these ancient texts that are thousands of years older than their Bible. Talking about a lot of the same stories, but in more detail, with more context and understanding. And these people start spinning these tales about, these Anunnaki and such. And they start to get angry because they're angry because they're starting there's a little inkling in their head. They start wondering, have I devoted my whole life to a lie? People don't like that, folks. That's why people will defend the lie so hard. Because they would rather live in the lie than let light shine on the darkness and enlighten themselves to the truth. See, I woke up to this a long time ago, folks. I was your most hardcore Bible researcher, Bible studier that you could ever find. I delved so deep into the Bible. I front and back. To me, it was absolute truth. But then there came a time, folks, when I started getting that little bit of inkling that maybe, at first it started out, look, I'm going to research all these ancient texts because I just want to know how, people try to come at the Bible with this other bullshit. But then I started realizing, holy shit, that stuff's not based off the Bible. The Bible's based off of that. And once that light switch clicks, folks, then you start really seeing through the veil, through the bullshit. And then the day came when I realized I used to pray to Yahweh. Because I honestly felt in my heart, I thought that was the creator of all. And then, I could sit there and read all of the atrocities in the Old Testament. And I was just like a lot of you Christians out there. I could say, oh, well, the reason why God had to have his chosen ones kill all the Philistines and the Amorites and all these people was because they were giants and the Nephilim, they were bad. Oh, the reason why God had to bring the flood is because everybody was corrupt and evil. Yeah, even the babies, right? Yeah. I used to believe that bullshit, folks. But now I see the Old Testament God for what he is. There's no more illusion covering my eyes. I see him for what he is. And then I read the Nag Hammadi. And I started realizing that, now I understand why the early church, why the Constantine construct went after the Gnostics so hard. And why they had to wipe them out and burn all their books and teachings if it hadn't been for these hidden codexes of the Nag Hammadi that were found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt, buried for safekeeping, we would have never learned about a lot of these teachings, folks. They named the Old Testament God for what he is. They named him the demiurge, essentially the devil of this realm. And as you start to connect the Sumerian cuneiform and the Nag Hammadi and the Hindu Vedic texts in the Egyptian teachings, you start to realize, folks, that your Bible is not bulletproof like you think it is. And you start to realize that what you had were a group of people, a tribe in the Middle East that were a merchant class, that they traveled a lot. And they were very wealthy. And when they were taken into captivity by the Babylonians, they had access to these same tablets. And a lot of times when you have a captured people like that, most of the regular people are made slaves. But usually the king will allow the elite of that group of people to be in his, palace or under his protection. It's a type of blackmail. It's a type of leverage. And so a lot of these Levites, the priests, they were given access to these libraries, folks, and they were protected, and they probably traded their teachings with the Babylonians, and the Babylonians we see this in the Talmud, right? The Babylonian Talmud. It's second only to the Torah with many Jews. And trust me, you read that Talmud, wow, that's an eye-opener. I'm not even sure I'm allowed to even talk about this right now because, let's just say, folks, when you start really digging into all this, everything starts to make sense about who the devils of this world really are and who his children are. And I'm just going to leave it at that. You read between the lines. Those of you that understand what I'm talking about, you understand. And those of you that don't, it's because, well, you're probably one of these, gaslighters. And you're a champion of the devil's children, let's just say that. So that's why I get hate, folks. I just want you, those of you that do support me and follow me, I don't expect you to believe everything I do. I don't expect you to come to all the same conclusions I do. I want you to research. But I think a lot of you understand why I get attacked. And you understand that I will handle that attack, that constant barrage every day for you guys. Because every person I wake up is a new light popping up in the darkness. And once there's enough of us, we can start making the changes that need to be made in this realm. And we can illumine the rest of the sheep to finally wake up. And then one day we'll see all of these false governments and religions and sciences and fake money and all this shit will crash down, and we can rebuild this into the Garden of Eden that it was meant to be. But until that time, we will keep dealing with the censorship, with the gaslighting, and with the hypocrisies that we have to. So anyways, folks, I got to work Saturdays, unfortunately, and I'm here at work, and I want to get done early today so I can get home early. And one quick thing before I go, I am going to be launching, I'm going to start doing lives, folks, here soon. Now, I don't have enough of you here on YouTube yet to make it worth my time to do lives here on YouTube. So any of you that are here with me only on YouTube, you need to follow me on Facebook, because I'm going to be doing my lives off of Facebook, because I've got 140,000 follows there. So I'm going to get more bang for my buck, so to speak, with doing lives from Facebook. So once we can get this YouTube tribe big enough, then we'll do them here. But until then, I think we're going to probably roll with it on Facebook. I know there's ways that people can like do lives on multiple platforms. I'm learning a lot of this, folks. I'm new to a lot of this stuff, okay? I've been doing all this research for a long time, but I've never been public like I am now. So I'm having to learn the technical side of all this. And I've been gifted some amazing equipment that's going to help me, step up my game. And I'm still working on some of that. I'm not used to doing editing and all these things. I do pretty simple videos, but I do want to start interviewing people. I'm going to be doing lives. I really want to go a lot bigger with this message, folks, because we've got to grow and we've got to overcome. So those of you that are here with me now, I love you guys. I appreciate you. And someday, guys, we're going to be big, and you guys will be the ones that were with me from the beginning, that gave me the support and energy I needed to keep this movement going. So I really appreciate that. So I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I may not have a video cut again till Monday. I do try to spend time with family on the weekends, so I don't do a lot of social media stuff on the weekends. Folks, I jump in, I do my social media stuff, and then I jump out. I jump in, I jump out. I'm not one of these people that will sit and scroll for hours, and I don't think that's healthy. You shouldn't do that either. And my videos, I produce them in a way, folks, where you don't even have to watch me. In fact, I'd rather you just put it on while you're working or doing something. Listen to it. That's what I do when I'm working all day. I listen to these ancient texts being read, and stuff. I listen to them. And then when I get the chance, I'll read them also. So that way, you get the reading and the listening in. But I research all the time, and I do this for you guys. So anyways, talk to you later.